Hey guys, Alf here, and today I'll be reviewing the Belko Experiment. So I'm kind of late on this review. I went to the theater to see this movie like a week and a half ago, so probably should have done this sooner, but I procrastinated a bit. My bad. So this movie was pretty fun. It has a cool concept. It does have its issues, which I'll get to later. It was directed by Greg McLean, who also directed Wolf Creek and the sequel. He directed The Darkness and Crawl Space. I was quite surprised to find out that James Gunn wrote this movie, who you probably know now as the writer and director of the Guardians of the Galaxy and Volume 2. He also wrote and directed this indie film Super, which is really good. If you haven't seen that, I highly recommend that movie. And he wrote the Dawn of the Dead remake, which I liked a lot too. It was probably one of the best remakes of any of the George Romero zombie films. So the film takes place in Bogota, Colombia, at this big office building called Belko Industries, where they hire like American employees and have them live there and work there. There's also Colombian people working there too. But the movie starts with people arriving at work, and there's like military checking for bombs under their cars and looking at their IDs and stuff. Basically, they say that people can get kidnapped by like local drug lords and stuff and held for ransom. So they try to like make sure that everybody's safe and stuff. But right off the bat, people start noticing the guards are different than the normal ones, and there's something strange going on. They start sending home all the Colombian workers, the locals. They send them home, and only the American workers or just out of the area workers are allowed in. So once inside Belko Industries, we are introduced to Mike Milch, who's basically the main character of the movie. He's played by John Gallagher Jr., who you might remember from 10 Cloverfield Lane, and he was in Hush. Pretty soon after meeting Mike, we find out he has a girlfriend that works there too. Her name is Leandra. She's played by Adria Arjona, who I think this is her debut film because I couldn't find anything she was in before this. But she will be in Pacific Rim Uprising, which is coming soon. She is also constantly harassed or sexually harassed by this guy named Wendell, who like constantly stares into her office and in like a creepy way, and she'll look back at him and he doesn't look away, and then she'll like message him on the computer. Like usually people look away when they get caught staring, and then he just like smiles and laughs, but basically he's like some creepy pervy dude. And he's played by John C. McKinley, who's awesome. I think we all know him from as Dr. Cox on Scrubs, and lately he's been Stan on Stan versus Evil, which is a great show. It's lots of fun. Check it out. So while Mike's visiting his girlfriend and kind of making out with her and stuff, his boss walks in, or their boss. He's the COO of Belko Industries, or at least this building. His name is Barry, and he's played by Tony Goldwyn, who was in the Last House on the Left remake, and he was also in Friday the 13th Part 6, which I think was his first movie. There's way too many characters in this movie. There's a bunch, which might be one of the issues too. It's always bouncing around all these different characters, which wouldn't be a problem if there was more time in this film. But one recognizable face is Michael Rooker. He plays Bud, who's like a maintenance guy. And of course, you know him as Merle from The Walking Dead. He's been in Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. And he played Sheriff Alan Pamborn in Stephen King's Dark Half. Sean Gunn is in this movie, which was also in Guardians of the Galaxy, which is funny. Michael Rooker's in Guardians of the Galaxy, and part of his little gang, Sean Gunn was in it, who's the brother of James Gunn and is in all his movies. So that kind of makes sense. One more character of note that we're introduced to is Melanie Diaz, who plays Danny Wilkins. She was in Be Kind, Rewind, and most recently Ghost Team. We're introduced to her as a new employee. She just comes in like it's her first day, And it's explained to her by another character that because they all have to go to like a doctor before they go in, they do something to the back of their head. So the guy explains that they do that to put a tracking chip in the back of your head, so that in case you get kidnapped by the locals, they can find you and rescue you as quick as possible. So after we're introduced to all the characters, we eventually get to the gist of the story. So um, the place gets locked down. All the windows and doors have these like steel shutters that come down and close everything down. So they're all locked into this building, and everybody's like, "Oh, what's going on? It might be some sort of emergency. This is weird." Um, and they get a voice comes out on the loudspeaker and starts telling them that they're now trapped there, and there's a game and they're gonna have to play it, and they have to kill two people in the offices. They basically say there's 80 employees here. We need you to kill two people within an hour, and that's all it says. And they all start freaking out. They start calling the security guards. Security guards like, I don't know what this is about. That's weird. So they all start going, they all start talking to each other, meeting up and being like, oh, this has to be a prank or something, or it's a joke. Somebody took over the intercom. And so within that, they waste that hour basically just talking and saying that this bullshit is a joke. And time's up. They didn't kill two people. So then a bunch of people's heads start popping from the back. Pow, pow, so a bunch of people die. Everybody's freaking out like, oh shit. At first they think people are getting shot, but, because it's just a loud bang and people's heads popping. So they're like, oh shit, and everybody's ducking down. But then Mike realizes that people aren't getting shot. It's the back of their heads are blowing out. There's no entry wound. So now they come to the conclusion that this has to do with the tracking chip they put in the back, that they're actually rigged to explode. So now they realize this isn't a joke. And after they all calm down, the voice interrupts them again and says, now they have 2 hours to kill 30 people. If they don't kill 30 people in those 2 hours, then 60 people's heads will explode. This starts bringing them to a panic. People are freaking out. Some people already went into hiding and stuff. But then this is where we get like the division and stuff. They all start trying to figure out what they're going to do. You got like Mike, and like people with him are like trying to be altruistic and saying like, no, we can't just kill people. We're going to have to figure out a way out of here. There's got to be a way. There's another small group of people led by Barry, and Wendell's in it too, who are under now they're thinking that like, no, we're gonna have to kill people. Like that's the only way. We're gonna have to try to figure out a way, maybe pick out the weakest people, or it's the only way we can do this, because there's no other choice. They're gonna kill us. So you got the group of people who don't want to kill people and want to figure out a way out or be rescued. The people who are like, we have no choice, we're gonna have to kill people. And then the rest of the people are just like the scared people who are scurrying around, hiding, and just trying to survive basically. And they're not trying to kill people. They're more scared than anything. But like they all meet up and talk about this, and it comes to a head because Barry's like, yeah, we're gonna how we're gonna figure out how to kill people. And Mike's like, oh, what are you, crazy? We can't kill people. That's wrong. We can't do that. And they come up with an idea that they're gonna hang a banner off the side of the building, like, hey, please rescue us. We're being held captive. So that if anybody drives by and see it, they'll be like, oh, oh shit, let's call for help. Barry doesn't like this idea. He still wants to talk about it. He's like, there's no way, people barely drive by here. We're in the middle of like nowhere in Colombia. Nobody's gonna see us. But basically, he doesn't want to do it, but they say, well, we're going to do it. We're going to try. So he's like, well, I'll give you a couple of minutes. I'll give you like 30 minutes to try. But at that point, we're running out of time. We got to do something. So they go and they try to do this. Meanwhile, Barry and Wendell and that group are trying to get the keys from the security guard. The keys lead to like a locked armament safe, basically, with all these guns and stuff, just that were there like just in case there was an attack or something. But he won't give it to them. He's like, no, I'm entrusted this. I'm not gonna give it to you. Mike and everybody else are working on the sign. They make this big sign. They start hanging it from the side of the building, and they try to like tie it. But as they're trying to tie it, the guards see them and start shooting at them, so they can't do that. One guy gets hit in the hand, is bleeding, um, and the sign falls anyway to the ground. So that plan is shot. Um, Eventually, it leads to a point where um, Wendell and Barry's group are going around killing people. They also eventually get the guns. They start killing everybody, and then you have Mike and people trying to survive. Um, Eventually it gets to a point where even people who were scared and weren't trying to kill people start killing people. Um, Shit goes into mayhem basically, and that's the rest of the story. There's more to it, but I don't want to spoil it for you. But so there's people going around killing people, people running and hiding, and then people who are trying to save people. People don't want to kill people. There's a lot of characters, so it goes into a lot of different things, which is very interesting. That's part of this movie that I enjoyed, was the concept and how different people reacted, who broke down, who was quick to go to, hey, let's kill people, and who took a long time, but eventually turned to that. So although I did like how they had a lot of characters to see a lot of different ways of doing stuff, it also has the issue that the movie's too short, so it doesn't have enough time to build a lot of these characters up. And sometimes it just seems like we wasted time on certain characters for no reason, because nothing really happened with them, or they just end up dying and that's it. And it's like, well, why waste time on that character so much throughout the movie just to have them die like nothing, not even in a spectacular way? It was just kind of seemed like wasted opportunity. Not sure if that was a budgetary issue and they had to make it short, they didn't have enough time, or maybe they were told by the studio they had to cut a lot of time out of the film. Maybe it ended up too long. But it's a really short film. It wasn't very long. At least it felt really short. I think it was. I think it was like an hour and 20 minutes, an hour and 30 minutes. Um, it's actually 88 minutes long, so that's not very long at all. Almost an hour and 30 minutes. So one good thing about that is that the story is fast paced, so you don't lose interest. But like I said, there's too much going on for such a short film. You kind of get lost in it, or at least feel that some of it was useless and could have been used better. I also had an issue with like some really bad CGI effects, but it wasn't that much, so it was forgivable. But mostly it was when they would show the exterior of the building. It just looked like a really bad computer game, like old computer game, like those point and click puzzle games like Myst. It looked like that, especially when the shutters were coming down. It looked really bad. It was super dated. But that's pretty much all they used CGI for, so it was forgivable. But it was like every single time there was an external shot, it just looked so bad. But for most of the stuff on the inside, when for like a lot of the deaths and blood and gore, it was practical effects, and those were really good. They did a great job on that. The acting for the most part was really good. Kind of like Guardians of the Galaxy, there were like, it was also had its comical moments which hit. It was good. They made you laugh, especially in moments where things are really intense and then something comical happens and you start laughing. But in no way is it a comedy. It's mostly like a thriller and mostly serious. It's just little bits of comedic relief here and there that fit really well and made the movie fun. So all in all, this was a very fun movie. I enjoyed it. I could say it's a good movie, but I can't say it's a great movie. It had its issues. It's fun to watch for one time. It's one of those things that bug me with movies sometimes, where you're like, what are you doing? It's like one of those movies, like every maybe like 10-15 minutes, you're like, why don't they do this? What the fuck are they doing? Why would they do that? Like, and fight back. Like, why are you just standing there? What the fuck? So it's one of those movies. But that's like every horror movie, right? Where people do stupid shit and you're like, well, why don't they do this? So, like, why wouldn't they do that? So that's not really a big issue. In the end, it's a fun movie. It's not great. It's good for a watch. I might watch it twice, but it's not like a movie you'd buy or anything. I would like to see a sequel because the way it ended left it kind of intriguing, like making you think like, oh shit, like I'd like to see this scenario happen again, like maybe come back to this concept because it's a really good concept, and you get to find out why it's happening. So it's like but not. I guess you do, but not like fully. Like there's still more that they can give you and more you can learn about it. So it's definitely a movie that could have a sequel and be good. Um, Hopefully they would get a bigger budget and be able to make a longer film, because like I said, one of the things that really hurts this film is how short it is. It's just too short for how for the amount of stuff that's going on and the amount of actors in it. But all in all, pretty good movie. I would say to check it out. Not sure if it's in the theater anymore. I think I had a very limited run. Around me, it was only like one theater in the area playing it, unless I wanted to head into the city. So if you still have it playing around you, give it a shot. I think you'll enjoy it. It's fun. If not, maybe it's good for like video on demand or to rent it. So yeah, that's it. That's the Belko experiment. Thanks for watching. See you later, guys.